How do you solve the problem of evil? And if God is benevolent, why do the innocent suffer, i.e., babies and children do die of cancer and a myriad of other terrible diseases? We thought we'd go out with a bang.
That, of course, is the hardest question. It has to do with our topic. As Mark has pointed out, we are making a spectacular mess of this planet. And human greed can lead to deforestation, can lead to starvation. And the problem of evil and suffering, there are two problems. There's the bad things bad people do to others. And then there's the tsunamis, earthquakes, cancers, and so on. And we all face it. You face it, I face it. And if we don't have anything sensible to say about it, we're in a huge difficulty. Secondly, there are two perspectives. There may be someone in this room who's been told she's got terminal cancer. Her view of that cancer will be very different from the professor of oncology that told her she got it. We watch evil. We experience evil. And so it's got an intellectual side and it's got a subjective personal side. And you need to address both. I'm going to be very short because this is a huge topic. If you want to know what I really think about it, just Google Veritas and my name, because it's the most asked after topic in North America, by far. The intellectual side, I can sympathize. I have many friends who are atheists because of Auschwitz, for instance. And I've been to Auschwitz many times and I've wept every time. What do you say? And they say, well, that's the end of God. You can't, possibly believe in God. So I say, okay, you've got rid of God, and that seems to have solved the problem. But what problem has it solved? The suffering's still there. What you have got rid of, utterly and completely, is hope. Because those people who'd suffered, and I said earlier this evening, the vast majority of people are not living like you and me. The amount of human suffering of the billions who've ever lived, there's no redress if death is the end, if atheism is true. So they haven't solved anything, really. Now, as a Christian, of course, I have a problem. And I spent many a night as a student asking your question, if there's a good God and he's all-powerful. You know the arguments. Have you ever got to a satisfactory conclusion with those arguments? No. Now, I'm a mathematician, and we're taught that if you can't answer one question, you should think of a different question to ask. And that's actually very important. The reason we get no satisfaction in answering that question is when all the arguments has been done, we're faced with what I call beauty and barbed wire. Look at the mountains here, and the skies above New Mexico, beautiful. That's beauty. An act of love or kindness is beautiful. Barbed wire, ISIS, blood flowing. That's our world. It presents us with a mixed picture. So whatever your answer is, it's got to face the fact that reality is a mixed picture, isn't it? Now, here's my alternative question. Granted that life is like that, whether we like it or not, the question I ask is a very hard one. Is there anywhere any evidence that there exists a God that you could trust with that? That's a big question, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe there is. Two things about it. It's a huge thing. Center of Christianity is a cross. Now, the claim is that the one on the cross was God incarnate. Now, if you think that's nonsense, just try and follow the logic before you reject it. If that is God on a cross, it tells me one thing straight away, that God has not remained distant from human suffering, but has himself become part of it. That's a big thing. But the second thing's even bigger. The claim is that Jesus rose from the dead, so death isn't the end. And he's going to be the final judge. That's a glorious thing to know. If there is no final assessment, Hitler gets away with it, ISIL gets away with it, the terrorists get away with it, the rapists get away with it. And our human conscience screams at us that that cannot be true. The biblical claim is that justice will be done and seen to be done. And it'll be done by a man. The sinning, the evil has been done by human beings. Now, if we begin to go down that road, I have seen in my life many, many people. It doesn't take away the problem of suffering. But to have a relationship with a God like that opens up the possibility, and I believe the actuality, that whenever I die, sooner or later, whether violently or not, it's going to be the entry into another world. What a tiny world atheism gives you, ladies and gentlemen. 70 years, I've already reached that, more or less, and then that's the end, and there's nothing, no ultimate significance. And when I put this to Richard Dawkins, rather sadly, he said, but I work for justice in this world. I said, Richard, wonderful, so do I. But on the basis of what you believe, there is no ultimate justice. And that's another reason why I'm a Christian, ladies and gentlemen. Because although it doesn't solve the problem will always be with us while there's pain. It gives me a way in that can change people's hearts and lives. That the God of the Bible is a God who suffered, and is a God who understands your pain and your suffering as you sit in this audience tonight. It would be a shame to bypass that opportunity of getting to know and to trust a God like that. If I didn't have that, I just would disappear, because life is so, so short. So that's how I would approach that question.